The murder trial against Flavio Hlabangwane continues today in the High Court sitting in Palm Ridge. Yesterday, Hlabangwane pleaded guilty to all charges against him, which includes murder and defeating the ends of justice. The state, however, has rejected his murder plea. Our reporter Tshegohaco Moagi is following this case and she joins us live. Tshegohaco, good morning to you. This is a massive development, pleading guilty to all of these charges. You'll explain to us what the last bit, as I've just read it in that introduction, as to what the quibble is around that, but also importantly, the arguments for mitigation and, of course, those that are going to say he needs to go to jail for a very long time. When will those start?
Good morning to you, Xoli. So indeed, the state yesterday rejecting that murder plea where he says that he's pleaded guilty to murder. He's also pleaded guilty to defeating the ends of justice and to also violating a corpse. This, of course, you'd remember Flavio Hlabangwane being arrested in November of 2021 after body parts were found in his fridge in his Soweto home of Protea Glen. Just to give context regarding that murder plea, so with him pleading guilty, according to the Criminal Law Amendment Act, if he pleads guilty according to Section 51, subsection 2, he gets a minimum sentence of 15 years in prison. However, the state has rejected that particular plea, and so according to that same Criminal Law Amendment Act, Section 51, subsection 1, if that is an admission, then if that is admitted then into court and then they reject this, the state is now calling for a life imprisonment. And so that is now the difference between the two of those sections in the Criminal Law Amendment Act. In this, the state are then going to try prove, we understand, that this was a premeditated murder. And this is a very interesting development and a very important development, because if they are able to prove this and put it through to the courts, then he could be imprisoned for life imprisonment for this particular murder charge. So at the moment, what is then going to happen, Xoli, the trial for the murder charge will then sit now. It will then begin today. We are expecting that 2 witnesses will be called to the stand today to testify against Flavio Hlabangwane and the relationship that he had with the victim, that being Tshegohaco, whose body parts were found in that Protea Glen home. And so the 2 witnesses are expected to testify today. And with that, we understand as well that, last year, there were issues around the POPIA Act and the police refusing to give the state any form of evidence regarding what was on the laptop and on the phones that belonged to the 2 of them, Flavio Hlabangwane and Tshegohaco. And from what we then were told, the judge then saying at the time when we were at the Johannesburg High Court, the judge saying that because Flavio Hlabangwane was arrested before the POPIA Act actually came into play, then the police must actually release all the evidence that they had. So it was then, some time, because they needed to go through everything that they could find on the laptop and the conversations between the 2, the state at the time saying that they needed to show that there was a violent relationship between Flavio Hlabangwane and Tshegohaco. Yesterday as well, Xoli, interestingly enough and quite dramatic and gory were the details that were given as to how Tshegohaco actually died. And this was given via a statement read by Flavio Hlabangwane's legal representative. And so it really just detailed what happened on that fateful day. He himself, in his statement, cannot actually describe or give details as to when exactly this incident took place. He says it was between the 6th of October and sometime in November before he got arrested. But he really details what took place, a fight breaking out, him pushing Tshegohaco and her head then hitting the corner of a stove. When she tried to get up, he then says that he took a knife and then he actually stabbed her in the neck, and he says that she died instantly. And from there then he describes how he began to dismember her body and to discard of the torso and of the skull. The skull is still missing at this point. The torso, rather, is still missing at this point, but Tshegohaco has been laid to rest with the body parts that the family was able to retrieve. So the trial expected to start officially then today with those 2 witnesses being called up to the stand.
Tshegohaco Moagi, thank you very much for that comprehensive update. Imagine the impact of all of this gory detail in front of the family. of the deceased. Very difficult indeed.